And I wonder if I could invite Donna to come up and introduce our speaker, please. Thank you.
President Kerry, members and guests, it gives me a great pleasure today to introduce Professor Bob Buckle. He is Pro Vice-Chancellor and Dean of Commerce at the Victoria University Business School. His career includes 25 years as an academic, as well as several years in public policy and several years in industry. His contribution to the business life of New Zealand includes holding a senior policy position at Treasury for 8 years, chairing the Economic Committee of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, chairing the government-appointed Tax Working Group, chairing the external panel for the Treasury Long-Term Fiscal Statement. He's on several university advisory boards, and in 2014 was made an Officer of the New Zealand Order of Merit for his contribution to business and education. I'm sure you will all agree that Bob is eminently qualified to speak to us on today's topic, creating a globally ranked capital city business school. Bob.
Thank you, Donna, and thank you, Kerry, for the invitation to speak today. I believe this is part of a series of university talks where you've covered teaching, institutional change, research. This is definitely at the institutional change part of that. I do have some slides, and I hope I'm going to hit the right ones. So, tēnā koutou katoa. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you. In a previous lunch, you may have heard the Vice-Chancellor talk about Victoria's vision of a capital city civic university. I want to talk about how that's playing out in one of the large faculties in the university, the Victoria Business School. In fact, it's been playing out for about 8 to 10 years. And I think what we've been doing in the business school has influenced some of the development at the university. The traditional role of a business school is, summarise it briefly, is to focus on, or has been to focus on the business of business. In other words, the internal needs of business organisations. Now, this is changing. In response to the global financial crisis, which prompted a lot of business schools to rethink the nature of their curriculum, the type of skills they are developing, the role of ethics, in response to greater accountability expected by governments for what universities do, and also encouraged by accreditation bodies that credit business schools. There's been a much greater emphasis come on to community engagement and engaging with those who have an interest in what business schools do. And there's a great variety in the way in which they've responded. And it wouldn't be so a business school that's in a Silicon Valley might be a little different to a business school that is in an agricultural region. And that's the way we have been thinking about the Victoria Business School in the last 7 or 8 years. And we're developing our distinctiveness as a capital city business school. So I want to talk a wee bit about that. Before I do, it's appropriate that I remind myself and my colleagues that the business school has, for over 100 years, had a long tradition of preparing talent for the business professions, the accounting, the economics professions, financial sector, managerial talent, for tourism, and so on. But the needs of business are changing rapidly, and I'm pleased to be able to at least argue that we are responding to those changes. In response to the global financial crisis and a whole series of natural and biological disasters, both in New Zealand and overseas, we've put on courses on actuarial science, a degree in actuarial science. The challenges of businesses in New Zealand getting penetration into Asian markets has prompted us to partner with the BNZ and other institutions to create the Chair in Business in Asia. In fact, that's Professor Sia Ng, who's one of your members. As the Wellington city emerged as the Silicon Harbour, as someone has referred to it, we've responded by developing a Masters of Information Management. And that's been complemented by the university's development of a computer-based engineering school. And this year we launched a new Masters in Business Analysis as part of the Wellington ICT grad school. It may surprise some of you that we actually survey employers. We surveyed over 2,000 employers recently to try and understand the attributes they are looking for in graduates. And that's informing the way in which we design our curriculum and the professional development opportunities we provide for students. But these responses that I've just described could reflect the business school in many parts of the world, in many different cities. But of course, business performance and the welfare of communities is not only affected by emerging technologies, shifts in global demand, shifts in industry trends. They're obviously impacted by government performance and public policy, the quality of regulation, the design of tax systems, labour laws and welfare policy, trade and industry policies, and the sustainability of government budgetary policy impacts on business productivity and competitiveness. They impact on employment and the volatility and sustainability of economic growth. So at Victoria Business School, we've very consciously adopted the position that we're not only a business school that is taking an interest in the business of business, but we're also interested in the business of government and the policy environment for business. So during this last decade, we've been actively developing initiatives that are operating at the intersection of public, private and community sectors. And that's what distinguishes us from most other business schools in this region. We look different from the Auckland Business School. We look different from the Melbourne Business School. We do have there are some things where we're similar, but there are many things where we are quite different. And that's been a conscious decision. So it's not surprising, I imagine, given our location here, but it may seem an obvious choice, but I've visited a lot of business schools in other capital cities in the world, and it's not necessarily an obvious choice. There are very few who have actually adopted this focus and this way of distinguishing themselves from other business schools. So let me just talk very quickly about 4 initiatives that have helped give us some impetus in this direction. So one of the initiatives is a series of partnership chairs. Now let me just explain briefly what these are. We've established several professorial positions with the explicit purpose of helping the community deal with important contemporary issues at the intersection of business, community and public policy. And these chairs were established following extensive consultation. Our partners are made up of a mixture of government departments, public authorities, private businesses, professional firms, private trusts, who have got various common interests in that intersection between their activities and the policy environment and the way in which it's impacting on the community. So one of these chairs is the Chair in Digital Government, and that was established in 2007 to provide research and advice on digital government. The sort of issues that Miriam is involved in, Miriam Lips, is how to improve cross-government information sharing whilst taking into account the privacy rights of individuals, how New Zealanders are managing their personal information online, commercial relationships with government and social networks, how is that managed, and how can government departments make it easier for small businesses to engage with them. She's finding quite interesting differences in those challenges across types of businesses. The Chair in Public Finance was established in 2011, and that was established to undertake research on and provide commentary on public finance. It was interesting going back 8 years, and you look across the university at the capability in public finance. I would say there was hardly anyone with international standing in public finance in the university system 8 to 9 years ago. The creation of this chair has attracted others with this capability, and Norman Gemmell is the Professor of Public Finance and holds this chair. He's provided advice on dividend imputation policy. He's assisted the Inland Revenue Department to organise a conference on tax administration for the 21st century. He's developing very interesting, what we call intertemporal methods to understand income distribution. He's throwing up insights about New Zealand's income distribution which are quite contrary to the conventional understanding. If you want to ask me about that afterwards, I'm very happy to talk about some of these issues. The Chair in the Economics of Disasters was established in 2013 with the purpose of understanding the economic impact of biological and geological disasters and how to improve disaster management policy. The Chair, who is Professor Ilan Noy, has generated influential research on economic consequences of the 2011 earthquake in Christchurch and some lessons for insurance policy and how to respond to earthquakes. There are several other partnership chairs, but I won't dwell on those because I do want to allow time for plenty of questions. The other way in which we're responding is to public policy reviews. Donna mentioned a few of those that we've been involved in, so I won't comment too much further on that, but it's quite extensive, the number of people through the business school who are now being asked by government agencies, by government themselves, to participate in public policy reviews and various forums. One of our staff was co-chair of the 2012 Expert Advisory Group on Solutions to Child Poverty. Another is the chair in Digital Government, is a member of the Data Futures Forum. Another way where this is changing the business school. By the way, if you're not sure what the business school was in your day, it was the Faculty of Commerce or maybe the Faculty of Commerce and Administration. We've gone to a more internationally understood term, the business school. But it is actually changing the way, what we're like inside. It's shaping our curriculum. We put our students through a core in the BCom which requires them to have an understanding on government policy and the legal process around policy making. These are just introductory courses, but it exposes them early on. We're the New Zealand member of the Australian New Zealand School of Government. The establishment of the chairs has actually enriched our curriculum as well. The Chair in Digital Government offers a course in using social media for effective public engagement. The Chair in Economics of Disasters teaches a course on disasters and economic policy. We've attracted many more PhD students interested in work around that intersection between business, community and public policy. From local to global, our connections internationally are changing. And not surprisingly, the way we're developing this expertise at this intersection is influencing the type of executive development that we do. So much of our work now is for government officials for the departments in the emerging economies in the Asia-Pacific region. During 2014 and 15, for example, we delivered programs on public accounting and finance for the government of Vietnam officials. A similar program for the West Papua government officials. Diplomacy program for Papua New Guinea government. Tourism management for the Vietnam government officials. And a comparative study of policing for the Indonesian government officials. The advantages of our capital city location would evaporate if we didn't build these initiatives, and if they weren't founded on high quality and reputation. So let me just quickly talk about what we're doing there. I'll mention two broad initiatives. One is we decided less than a decade ago, we pursued international accreditation with the leading business school accreditation agencies. We did that for two reasons. We wanted to learn from the emerging and the well-established business schools what's best practice and what are the changing developments that we should be aware of. Secondly, we wanted to overcome the information asymmetry problem. In other words, it's very easy to stand up and say, oh, we're a wonderful university or we're a wonderful business school. But by putting yourself through an accreditation agency, they are an independent assessment of how good you are. And this is particularly important for international students and for postgraduate students. We now hold all the leading international accreditations with these leading agencies. The top three, for example, are regarded as the so-called Triple Crown. The top one is a well-established American-based, but is now global. The second one is the European one, which is also global. And the third one refers to the MBA program. There are only 75 business schools in the world who hold all of those three. We also put our tourism program through the World Tourism Organization accreditation process. I think we're the only business school who hold all four. And then there are a couple of others. Probably not surprisingly, now that we've brought the School of Government into our faculty, we are also putting that school through a similar process. And that's what the NASPA, or the Association for Public Schools of Administration, is about. And we hope that by 2018 or 2017 even, we'll have that accreditation. The research, quality and teaching of our staff is critical. And we've put a huge emphasis in developing infrastructure to develop our teaching, a huge amount of work to develop the research capability of our staff. And that was indicated in the 2012 PBRF, where the Victoria University came out as a top university, but the Victoria Business School was the leading research business school in New Zealand through that process. So we are building quality as the foundations for this development. The university has recognised the strategic importance of the business school to the development of the capital city civic university vision. We've had steady growth in commerce enrolments in the Victoria Business School. In the last 5 years, our share of New Zealand students studying commerce at the Victoria Business School has increased every year. Our share has increased from 15% to 18%, and we've got further growth this year. In other words, students around the country are attracted to Wellington, they're attracted to our business school as well as to the university. We are investing in a new development at Rutherford House. We're almost there. November, it'll be finished. Please feel welcome to come in and see what this development is about. There's $35 million development there because we simply need to modernise our facilities and create the space for growing student numbers and growing staff. So let me just conclude by saying that the Victoria Business School has been changing significantly over the last decade. Some of these changes are in response to our ambition to build a reputation for quality and achieve international recognition. Other changes are focused on developing our distinctiveness as a capital city business school. We're not just focused on the business of business, but also the business of government and the policy environment which we operate in. Thank you very much, Kerry.
Time for a couple of questions, so away you go.
Thanks, that's a really interesting talk. Just the structures are sounding fantastic and progressive and moving forward really well, but I guess I had a debate with my daughter at the weekend who has almost completed a degree in software engineering, computer science. She's gone into a software development firm. They're growing very, very rapidly. And I can see that's a significant and growing part of our local economy and global economy. But what she's finding is that the firm she's joined is growing so rapidly that the people who are running these companies, and there's a lot of them, have experience in the software area, the computer science, but no experience in management.
Yep.
So,
Okay.
organisations.
And it's caught catching us out too, is because we put on a Master of Information Management and PhDs in this area about 7 or 8 years ago, recognising what's happened. So it's the usual sort of production response lag to a sudden change in demand. We're trying to keep up. And Rod Drury keeps telling me we haven't got enough people to fill these slots, so I'm aware of that.
And Roger, last question, sorry.
Well, congratulations and thanks to you and your colleagues, and particularly our member, Tricia Warbridge, too, for establishing those chairs with that wonderful tripartite relationship.
So what's the question?
This is just with Professor Lips and e-commerce and cyber security. Well, I was thinking about John Luxton there. Jim Bolger's policy of the World Communications Laboratory and actually establishing more back office security for Northern Hemisphere country. Any development on that front? It seems to have potential.
Oh, you're really digging into expertise. That's Miriam's and not mine. But I think we do have a lot we can offer to that sort of development. But Roger, I'm not sure on that specific development. But I can ask for you. Yep.
Thank you, Bob. I'll
Okay.
get Donna to thank you.
Okay,
officially.
thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you, Donna. You can come up, and the people who want to make announcements, could they start coming up to the front as well, please?
I am passionate about the importance of business. I think that it is absolutely crucial to the standard of living of the country. For 6 years I was the CEO of Young Enterprise Trust, and we were teaching young people to set up and run businesses, and we had 3,000 students each year would set up businesses, real money, real risk, real reward. What I'd like to think, Bob, working at the other end of the scale, is now at the stage where he's got my students, the ones that I enthused about the adventure that is business, and he is now doing the big things with them that he talked about today. Hopefully they're taking advantage of what he is developing and what he is producing, and that the Victoria University globally ranked Capital City Business School is making a real difference to the lives of all of us. Let us thank Bob.
Members, this is a reminder about the privacy security dilemma, the Rotary Forum 2016. 31st of May, a morning only, at the Ridges. Registration is $95.55 unwaged, and unwaged includes retired if people so choose. Because we've got a lot of new members, it's worth saying that we offer the Rotary Forum as a service project every year. Club members are using their networks, their skills, their influence to put together a program of speakers so that we can think about and learn about an issue that's important for Wellington and New Zealand. We are inviting any people who are interested in the topic and those who can influence how it unfurls. It's the 5th of our forums. The dilemma is, what kind of world exists in the shadows of threat and our right to privacy and security? How much do we know, or ought we know, and can citizens trust authorities and global corporations that make the rules for us? This is your chance to look inside those issues and to talk to experts, talk to and listen from experts. The speakers include, and I'm really embarrassed, that left off this slide is Professor Miriam Lips, Chair of Digital Government. Anand has agreed to chair and comment on the forum. We had confirmation finally on Friday that Chris Finlayson, the Minister for GCSB and NZSIS Security and the SIS, is going to be speaking. We've got Sir Michael Cullen talking about his review of the legislation, Tahu Kukutai talking about Maori data sovereignty, the Privacy Commissioner, Russell Stannis from Vodafone, Paul Buchanan and Robert Asen, who are security commentators. For club members, do you know enough about this topic? Should you be there to influence what happens? there will definitely be chances to have your say. The action we need of you is that flyers and the program will be emailed out this week so that members can forward all the details onto their contacts. The information and registrations are at the forum website and the club website, so please register now. Thank you.
Hello, just a quick reminder, the billiards night is Wednesday week. The last chance you've got to put your names down, the sheets are on the table. Join in, it's a fun night. I have to finalise it on Friday this week for the Wellington club, so give it some consideration. Thanks.
Thank you, Peter. Now, there was a small confusion at the beginning, and I wish to apologise and invite Eliza Ning up from Hong Kong Rotary Club, and she's got a banner to hand over, so, and we're going to do an exchange.
Thank you. That's all right.
Do you want to speak for a minute? Do you want to say anything?
Oh yeah, sure. Why not? Hi, everybody, President and all fellow Rotarians, PP and all that. This is Eliza. I come from Hong Kong. Basically, this round I'm coming here to put up my investment into New Zealand because I just got granted the immigration PR by the immigration here in New Zealand. And my career has been all in the banking industry, and basically I'm a retired banker. I've been in the industry for 32 years in investment banking. It's very happy to have a hearing today about the Victoria University. Probably I have some question for you later on. Yeah, thank you very much. So happy to be here.
There you go. Thank you. Done. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, hopefully that worked. So thank you all very much for attending today. Could I especially thank again Eliza for coming and visiting us from Hong Kong. Could I acknowledge Joe for coming, and thank you for updating us on how you're getting on with your Akina grant. And also could I acknowledge Maria for your inspiring words about surviving and thriving following a stroke as a teenager. Maria has left business cards out on the table if anyone is interested in taking one of her business cards and the work that the young stroke thrivers do. I also wish to thank Bob for coming along and updating us on everything you're doing. I was part of the MBA accreditation discussion, so I know how arduous it is to get such an accreditation, and I was a tiny part of it, so well done for all that you've achieved. When I looked at the what's happened this day in history, there wasn't a lot. I say that every time, but I was trying to look for something to do with universities, couldn't find anything. So then I looked at issues that had recently been in the press, in fact as recently as today. So I'll just go through some of those. As you know, Australia's facing an election on